Welcome to the channel, guys, or welcome back if you've been following along on my Nissan 240SX build here. My name is Fred, and I've been doing a kind of a winter rebuild on this car and redo of the turbo system and the intercooler. And it has been a couple of days or maybe a week or more since I made a video. I don't know why that is. I just decided I wanted to grind hard on the car, and I didn't want to film and edit. I just felt like the winter season is passing by and it's turning into spring, and I'm running out of time, so I really just needed to crank hard on the car and get a bunch of stuff done. So that's what I did. And so in this video, I'm going to catch up real quick on where I'm at, and I think the car's ready to start. So we're going to do a first start today, be a cold start on E85. So let me get the car up in the air and I'll show you where we're at. Okay, so basically what I have been consumed with for the last week or so is getting this bumper to fit and getting the intercooler mounted and just wrapping up and finalizing the intercooler pipes. All that took way longer than I ever expected it to. And it was all pretty much just kind of repetitive content that didn't make for great videos, I felt like. So where we are here is the bumper is 100% mounted now, finally. It's all bolted up on the edge. There's like 5 bolts here and all bunch across the top and all that stuff. But it took forever because I wanted to get these cuts as exact as I could get them. I didn't want to just hog out a big old hole here. So I had to take the bumper on and off and on and off and on and off and trim this out a little more every single time until I got it as close as it is there. On both sides I had to do that, and that really just took forever. I probably took the bumper on and off, honestly probably 25 times, and would just grind a little bit, and then I'd put it back on and check it and make a little mark and then take it off and grind a little more, and it just took way longer than I ever expected, but that's okay. It's all done now. So the big old intercooler is up in there. You can see how far it extends up in there. This notch right here that you're seeing there was from the previous intercooler, not from this intercooler. And I may actually take and extend that out over here in time. I'm not really sure yet. But I had to build lower intercooler mounts. So that's these right here. And that supports the weight of the intercooler, and it is a very heavy intercooler. I should have weighed it, but it's very heavy. And then I needed some mount to keep the intercooler from going up when I hit a bump and so forth. So I really can't see it now, but I welded on a tab that goes over here and then down and over, and then this bolt here holds the intercooler down to that. So the intercooler is ultra rigid, can't move up, down, left, and right at all. And then as far as the bumper cover goes, all that was left down here was this little thin strip. So you can see that I took a piece of aluminum and just used it to reinforce that lower piece of the bumper, and that's just a temporary solution for right now so I can get out on the road and test things. But it's very sturdy, or sturdy enough anyway. The wind's not going to cause it to flap around or do anything. It's strong enough to do its job today. Intercooler piping is all done and fully installed, wraps around and goes right up through there just like you would expect. So that's done. The transmission cooler was over here. It had to be moved. It's now, probably can't hardly see it, but it's now sandwiched back there between the radiator and the intercooler. There's a good 2, I think actually 3 inches between the radiator and intercooler also, which is a really good thing for engine temps and radiator performance, which this car has kind of suffered from since the beginning. So we'll see how it does with this big old intercooler blocking so much of the radiator. Then over here I had to remount a fuse box up in here. That fuse box there had to be redone because this passed right through where it was previously. And pardon all this wiring, it's all going to get revised and cleaned up, and I just haven't had time to come back and redo all that. So it's kind of a rat's nest up in here, but it does work. Doesn't give me any problems. So that's where we look, or that's how we look right now. Obviously this is not the final evolution of this bumper. It looks pretty ugly with the intercooler just hanging out like a buck tooth right there and doesn't have enough bumper underneath it to look right. The good news is with it down on the ground at ride height, you don't really see that much, but definitely not going to leave it this way permanently. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I've been thinking about it all week, trying to come up with a game plan, but the bottom line is it's going to have some fiberglass work and probably some foam sculpting and fiberglassing, so that's going to be a big project, but a fun project. But essentially what I'm going to do is block this off and then make like fiberglass, block this off with fiberglass, and then block this off with fiberglass and kind of cap it around there and have it follow that curvature. And do the same thing over here, kind of cap that off with fiberglass, make like a bullet-shaped cover that'll just cover all that. So that'd be like step number 1. And then step number 2 would be to build sort of a wooden jig underneath it, and then fill in with expanding foam all the way around here, and then carve that back to a nice shape, and then fiberglass over that, and in that way just making a nice lower lip for the bumper. I've never really done anything that elaborate with fiberglass, so I don't know if I can even pull all that off, but that's kind of where my head's at around that right now. We'll see what happens. The other option is there's a guy that I come across on Instagram that makes a lower lip for this bumper. It's a little bit expensive. I think it's $275, but it would probably solve a lot of my problem. It would extend past the intercooler, so I could take his lip and modify his lip to fit, and it would kind of fill in a lot of my problem here, but I would still have to fiberglass, and it would still be a pretty big project, but it would give me a big leg up on the project and make it actually easier to do, but cost more money. So I haven't decided on that, exactly what I'm going to do just yet, but that's where we stand. In my opinion, it was a big win to get a 5-inch intercooler in the front of this car and be able to use this bumper at all, especially with 3.5-inch intercooler piping. This turned out better than I thought it was going to. I was afraid I wasn't going to have any bumper hardly left. I was afraid I was going to have to just cut through here, and it was all going to get loose and janky and fall apart, but it really didn't. Everything worked out okay. Had to trim a lot of stuff to make it happen, but a big 5-inch thick intercooler, I think it's 25 inches wide and about 12 inches tall, is going to be a major asset to this car and really help out with the intake air temps, or at least it should, and keep my motor happy and help it flowing better, make more power, and stay together this year. So it was worth all the work, 110%. So of course I'll be checking my intake air temps once we get out on the road, so we'll really know if it's working or not. But assuming it keeps intake air temps somewhere around, I don't know, maybe 160 or below, I'll be super happy with this. Anything below about 160 or so, I'm going to be considering this a big win. And some guys will even report lower than that on this intercooler, but you never know who you can really trust or who's really measuring data correctly. So I'm just going to measure my own and see what happens. But yeah, that's where we are. Let me get the car back down and I'll show you some more. Okay, with the car down here, I can show you where we're at on the top side and what has been done. Basically, I had to cut out this lip right here quite a bit. I took 3/4 of an inch all the way across there so that the intercooler could pass underneath here without causing this to lift up too much. Okay, so a little bit of good news is, as it turns out, I was able to use my headlight brackets that I made previously. I was able to use those, surprisingly, and I didn't have to do the headlight brackets like I thought I was going to have to. I took a look at these brackets and I realized, oh my gosh, I think they might fit now. What had happened was, I had this intercooler tilted back about an inch, and I thought that's how it was going to run, but in the car permanently, but it really bothered me to look at it from down here. You could tell it was tilted, so I trimmed all this out the other day so that the intercooler could lean forward and sit square in the car, vertical, and just look a lot better. And because of that, it made it so that there was enough room for the headlight brackets to work. It was still a really tight fit. I had to grind just a little bit off of my cap plate that I welded onto the intercooler there on that side, but that's all I had to do there. So this headlight's done and mounted. And then on this side here, the bracket was, it didn't fit as good on this side, so I had to actually weld on a little piece right here and then cut out this piece because I needed that much clearance around the intercooler for that to fit. So I just welded on a bar there and then cut out that bar there and then just hit it with some black paint. So now this one's ready to go in. So that saved me a ton of time not having to make those headlight brackets from scratch, and thankfully I was able to, reuse what I already built. So that's really cool. So I'm going to throw that dude on there and tuck in the wiring harness back where it goes and secure the oil cooler back where it goes. It's sort of not 100% permanent yet, but it'll ride in there just fine for now. And then I'm going to throw in the corner lights, and then I think there's really nothing left to do but hook up the battery at that point and give it a little fire in the hole and see if she'll start. It's been sitting for a long time on E85, probably about close to a month now. So I'll do a live cold start on E85 and see how she behaves. Alright guys, so I think I got everything ready. It's all buttoned up, headlights are in, batteries reconnected, and I think basically there's nothing left to do but see if it'll start up. So this is always a stressful and nerve-wracking time for me because I'm always worried that I forgot something or I've done something wrong or there's going to be some new problem has developed. So anyway, let's just give it a try and see what happens. Hasn't been started in maybe a month or so, and we're running E85, and it's been very cold, although it's nice and warm today. We'll see what happens. Here we go. hear me over the sound of the car, but everything looks fine. I don't see any leaks. Everything sounds okay, so I think we're good to go. Yeah, it's good. It was hard to start. Didn't want to start. Also, my starter doesn't want to engage on the first click sometimes. It just kind of goes click and nothing happens. You hit it again, then it goes. So, I don't know. Something's going on with that, I guess. But yeah, looks good, sounds good. So this is where the cutout closed. I think I'm gonna go inside and open the cutout real quick. This is how the cutout works. Just lift up on this and hook it over that. It is loud with the cutout open. Okay, so I had to cut the camera off real quick because I have an oil leak down here on the oil drain, and I had a feeling that was going to happen. I wasn't able to tighten my oil drain fitting. It's like a 10 AN right here, and everything is so tight down here I couldn't get a wrench in there, so I finger tightened it, and I knew that it was probably going to drip, and sure enough you can see that pile of oil down there. So I stuffed a rag down there real quick and turned the car off, but I got to figure out some sort of a shorty wrench solution or something to get right down in here and just put another 1/8 of a turn on that or something. But okay, so I just got to fix that oil leak, and then after that I think it's time to actually just get it off the lift and roll it out of the shop and drive it, really, which is super nerve-wracking. Starting it's bad, driving it's real bad for me. It always bothers me. I'm just always afraid that I broke something or screwed something up. But anyways, just my own little hang-ups. So, all right, let me work on that oil leak, and then I will update you as soon as I know more. Okay, so I had to make a custom little shorty and ultra-narrow wrench out of an old one here, but I was able to get the job done. At least I think. I was able to get about a 1/4 turn or so on that fitting down there, and it feels really good and snug. So let's give it the juice, test it out, see what happens. Okay. Curious to see how the starter reacts now too, if it does that clunk thing or if it just starts. Well, crap. Okay, so the stupid thing's leaking again. I have no idea why. Why would that be leaking? I just tightened it. Ah, man. I'm gonna try to clean up the mess again before it spreads. It's already spreading, of course. Try not to burn my hand. Dang it, why is that thing leaking? I have no idea what is going on. That's a problem, because to get that thing off and get it out might require pulling the turbo out. I'm not really sure yet. Dang it. Alright, so I just about had a heart attack. Pretty much the worst thing that I could ever do with this lift. Not really the worst thing, but the one thing that's always been in the back of my mind that I was always afraid that I was going to do accidentally with this lift, I just did. And I just raised the lift up with the driver's side door open. And the lift tower is over there, so I didn't even see this door and didn't realize it was open. And you can see the ceiling right there, and you can see that there's no lights in that light fixture anymore. It's supposed to be lights like that in that fixture. Well, they're not in there anymore because I raised the lift up so high with the door open that the door crushed into that light fixture and smashed those bulbs. Let me flip this around. Smashed those bulbs and bent the fixture, which I don't care about that, but I was really afraid it was going to destroy this door, destroy the hinges, or bend the A-post, and I panicked and didn't know what to do. And the thing is with this lift, if you're up and you want to go down, when you hit the down button, it actually has to go back up another like 4 inches before it releases and then can come back down. So if you're up against something, you ain't coming back down without going up first again. And I knew that, so I just stopped, and you can see the glass down in there. It really didn't tear up the car bad at all, thankfully. It did scratch me up right there, and the door was not closing very good before, but it's really not closing good now. So it's really hitting that striker plate hard. What's funny is it bent the door, the pressure on the door was pressing downwards, but if you can see in there, it's too high, which you would have thought it would have bent it downwards, and then it would be too low there. Well, anyway, the door does close, and the gap looks just fine. So I think the car's fine, miraculously. I think it's all right. But man, I had a heart attack trying to figure out what to do there. I went and got a ladder real quick. I had nobody here to help me. I used a 2x4 over there, and I pried against the ceiling and down against the door and jammed it open, or closed rather, and pulled out all the busted light bulbs and stuff. That was a panicky type of deal there. But anyway, and that's over. So where I'm at here is like basically take number 3 on the oil line. This last thing I just did was I took the actual whole oil line off the car completely just so I could visually inspect it. And yeah, I took it off so I could visually inspect it and see if there's any problems. It had a bunch of grit and dirt in the fitting from whenever I was grinding and cutting on the engine bay. A bunch of that crap got down in the exposed oil line that was just sitting there. And I knew it did that before, and I totally forgot about it. So there was definitely a bunch of grit up in that fitting. I'm hoping maybe just some of that grit was keeping it from sealing. So I took it all off, took it out with degreaser and the hose, and I degreased it like 4 times in a row and washed it and flushed it and washed it and flushed it. And then I used the airline, I sprayed it out. So maybe that's all the problem was. So it's all back on the car now again, and I'm ready to fire it up. So let's try again. I don't know, maybe that fitting's just bad. Maybe I damaged it whenever I was putting the turbo in. Maybe I had too much pressure on it and warped something inside it or crushed the seal inside it. I'm not really sure. Okay, update time. I decided to take the oil line off and flip it upside down so that the fitting that was leaking on top would now be the fitting down here. That way I could verify for sure if it was the fitting or not. If the leak followed me down here, I would know the fitting was certainly bad. And if the leak up there, if I had no leak up there, then I would know that fitting was certainly good. That didn't work because the fitting that was up there was a short radius 90, and the fitting down here was slightly longer radius 90 by about 1/8 of an inch. Well, it needed to be a short radius 90 up there because the fitting was so daggum close to the body of the car. So I couldn't just flip the line because it put the longer radius 90 up there and it hit the body of the car. So I got frustrated and got out the saw and I cut the body of the car out. So, so now I have clearance here. So I have another hole in my car, which sucks, but that's all going to get welded in and closed up one day, so don't worry about that. And now the fitting that was not leaking, that was down here, is now right there, and it's tightened up and ready to go. And the fitting that was leaking up there is now right here. So I'm about ready to start it up and see if the leak is happening down here or not. as I expect it probably will, or maybe I'll just solve the whole problem right now and we'll all be good to go. Let's try it and see. Well, crap, this is really frustrating. Okay, so the leak stayed where it was despite the fittings moving around. What is going on here, guys? I have no idea. I really don't. I didn't expect that to happen. Oh, got a nice little pile of oil here I can cozy up to. And got oil up there dripping off that fitting. Where's the oil coming from? I guess I got to take the line off now and then take that aluminum thing off and look at it and see if there's something wrong with it. Okay, so I just got this guy off the car and there's a decent chance that this is where the leak was coming from all along. See all this oil running down the edge of this guy? Could have been running down there the whole time, maybe. In fact, there's a hole right there where the gasket overlaps the edge of the fitting just a little bit right there. I think, I'm just now seeing this for the first time, I think that's the problem. Come on. You can't hardly see it in the camera, but right there, the gasket overlaps the edge of the aluminum piece. Dang it, it won't focus. Let's try it over here. Yeah, right there you can see daylight coming through. Ha! Okay, just so you guys know, just an FYI for you. The real problem here was that this particular fitting for the turbo is machine stupid. It's really thin right here on this edge and really thick on this edge. Needs to be that thick on both sides, but they didn't do it that way. Whereas this one over here on the right, it's equal distance all the way around. And this gasket that I've been using is perfectly fine gasket and it works great on this fitting here on the right, but because of that thin edge, it does not work on that fitting. We did it, boys. Wow. That was a lot of work. Yeah, I think it was it, guys. Whew. Super pumped about that. Man, that was way too much work for one oil leak, but that's the way oil leaks are. They're never easy to get to, and they're always a pain. And I hate them. But I think we got it. Yeah, I'm just looking again. Yeah, I think that was it. So it all came down to this daggum fitting, which is funny because I've used this thing in the past on my 7875 for a couple of years now, and it has never been a problem. But I guess whatever gasket was on this... Actually, is that right? Did I use this on my 7875? Now that I say that, I can't remember. But anyway, this was the problem. The way it's machined is stupid. It's thin on one edge and thick on the other edge. And it basically takes a custom gasket. Yeah, I think she's happy. So, woohoo! Good deal. This has been a dramatic and stressful day, from nearly destroying the door on my car to definitely destroying some light bulbs and almost destroying that fixture, to having to take the oil line off probably 4 times and swapped so many things around. It was a pain in the butt, but you just got to never give up, I guess. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I did. That's what I would say about that, I guess. I'm not trying to say anything motivational here. Just trying to get my daggum car done and on the road. I want to go racing, guys. So it is Saturday afternoon. This is going to be it for today. I've worked on this car enough for today. I think I'm going to kick off here, wrap up the video, maybe do a little more tomorrow. So thanks for following along, guys. I appreciate it. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, comment, do all that stuff. Otherwise, guys, I will see you on the next one for probably going to be a test drive video. See you then.